Hello, welcome back to the House of the Dragon reviews. I do this weekly, I do this every single Monday. It's not really been getting a lot of views, but I'm just enjoying House of the Dragon a lot. Like this show is good. We're 5 episodes deep into this show, and I still think I've said this a few times already. I still think this show is decent. So this episode, right? So it's again, this sort of continues the story, and there's quite a lot of things that go on in this episode. There's quite a lot of important moments and stakes and that kind of stuff. And man, I just don't know when the day will come where I actually have this a criticism about this show. Right? I know I sound like I'm taking thing. I know I sound like I am just over the moon, but it's just where it left off with that last episode. I just came back from watching. It's just like this. How did this show just get any better than it already is? It has established this idea, and then it just gets better and better and better. But that aside, right, this episode is actually about how Rhaenyra and I think the Prince of the Valerian House, which was the other house we were introduced to earlier in the show, and they have to come together, and there's that stuff, and there's also the stuff around how the king actually gets sicker and sicker and sicker during this episode, because in previous episodes the king Viserys just was developing cancer, and he just has stuff on his back, and he just felt really sick. He felt like really sick, and that's like one of the main things in this episode. It kind of shows you how sick he becomes in the episode, and it kind of goes throughout the entire episode. It shows you how the king is gonna get sicker and sicker and sicker. And there's actually like Rhaenyra, kinda her attitude gets even, like she becomes more entitled as the show goes on, because she wants to be the heir to the throne, and wants power, and she just wants to be a higher up, and that's kind of how she's treated in this show. And in this episode, there's that the wait there's that guy for the last episode that he's the knight guy, like chat wait I'm trying to remember his name. Right, he's like that knight guy, like with the sword and everything. That's who he wanted to marry Rhaenyra, but he couldn't get his own way. So throughout the episode, he actually isn't happy with Rhaenyra. Like in the beginning, he's like, "I want to do that. I want to travel away, forget about all this stuff to do with the realm and all that. Let's just be together." And then they're on the boat, and then she's just like, I just want to do my duty and do what's right for the kingdom, and that stuff, and that kind of really set him off, and he was just really mad and stuff like that, and I can see why, because later on in the episode it kind of is significant to know that, because he really gets madder as the episode continues from there, because they just had that relationship in that last episode 4, with the whole relations, and then in this episode, the whole thing changes, and the Valerian prince, that I think he's the Valerian prince, who's marrying Rhaenyra, right? Marrying Rhaenyra, he actually is gay as well, right? It's actually important to the story, though. It's like, they don't just randomly throw it in there and throw it down your throat. It's like, okay, he's gay, I understand that. They don't like make it like a political, really. It's really a political show, but it doesn't go so into that, if you know what I mean. So it's a part of the story, because gay people would have been around that time. But yeah, the Valerian prince, like he's like gay with him, and yeah, and they try, and it's like they try to get along as well, like Rhaenyra and all that. And him and Rhaenyra try to get along in the episode. There's also actually there's actually this part also. I know I don't really have a chronological order for these things, but there's also a part in the episode where the king gives a speech, about uniting Valerian and Targaryen and that stuff. And then Alicent comes in the room. She got really mad because when that night, because he's actually the protector of, supposed to be the protector in air, she was like, oh, okay, I see what happened. Because she realised, Rhaenyra's is abusing her power. I was like, oh, I'll just, smash this guy and, have relations with him and that stuff. And she's like, oh no. And she just wanted to forget about it because, it's like a mistake. And Alicent is actually a character in this show that really isn't, like, she's kind of sad a lot because there is a lot of really serious stakes going on here. I know it's like a dragons and it's knights and all, sorry, that stuff, but there's a lot of stuff around, the serious political family drama, because that's kind of what it is. If you put that aside of the fantasy and the mystical stuff, it's like it's a serious political family drama kind of thing because of the family and the Targaryens. And I've thought of it, like, as the show goes on, I think I've just learned so much more about the show itself. It's really intriguing, man, and I just cannot believe that a precursor to a show I've never seen, is actually getting me more excited than a show I don't want to cover, because I realise, maybe that I know I'm just going to drown in hatred and I'm just going to hate doing it. I love Tolkien, I really do. And I love Lord of the Rings and all that stuff, but I don't want to hurt myself and just sit through something I would probably be bored with. And I know people have said what they've said about Rings of Power, and I've seen people going around comparing Rings of Power to House of the Dragon, and how House of the Dragon is a much better written show compared to the Rings of Power. It's really interesting. They're two fantasy shows, two prehistoric to the precursors, or the precursor of what was told before, kind of thing. But yeah, man, oh man. Yeah, I don't know if I'll actually compare House of the Dragon to Rings of Power. I know I don't want, I know that I'd probably get something out of covering that. But if I just hate the show and I have nothing interesting else to bring to the table, it's not what I want to do. Because, I would talk about something if I didn't like it, but sometimes I just don't want to dwell myself into that. It's like, oh my god, do I really have to just keep continuing talking about something I don't like? Because there is a point where I just, yeah. But yeah, there's that, right, the Rings of Power and the House of Dragon stuff. But aside for that, right, this episode, I'll give it a thumbs up. Right, I think there's another few episodes to this show as well, and I'm gonna start watching Game of Thrones after this as well, and also expect some Hobbit reviews this week, or this week at least, because it's Hobbit Day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. Just a little segue with that Rings of Power stuff, but it connects with the whole Rings of Power versus House of the Dragon. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you thought, because man, I am loving House of the Dragon, right? This show kind of went from, okay, I see where this is going. It's like, oh my god, I just can't wait for every new episode now, because I know that this show's just getting better and better and better and better and better. I'll try to lower my expectations, right, and not try to be absolutely, like, excited all the time, because, what if there was an episode that derailed the excitement? Who knows, right? That's just speculation. But yeah, I'm gonna end this episode, man. I just couldn't stop raving about how good this show was. Bye.